it's Katey, and apologies for the nasally voice. I've been a little bit unwell, but I am very excited because a parcel, it arrived a little over a week ago and I haven't opened it yet, but I wanted to do it with you. This is, of course, has come all the way from Little Red Tarot in the UK, which is very exciting. I love Little Red Tarot because even though they're in the UK, they have a, what do you call it, a flat rate shipping price worldwide. So a lot of the time for indie decks and also other little bits and pieces, which I have ordered more than just a deck, it's actually often quite a lot cheaper for me to order from Little Red. So yeah, I'm very excited. Let's have a look what's in here. That was actually surprisingly easy. Ooh. I love how Beth, I think it's Beth, I hear everybody call her Beth. I love how she packages everything in red, and it's such a pretty red too. And I have to say I love this too. I ordered some little book zine things, and that, you know, she's put just a simple piece of cardboard to make sure they don't get bent is really very thoughtful of her. So what should we have a look at first? I reckon this. I love all these little stickers and everything. Okay, so I got this cool magazine. There was actually a couple of zine-y things and magazines that are on that website on Little Red that I've been eyeing off on and off for a long time now. But I decided to go for this one. It's the Beautiful Resistance Sacred Left, and this is the third one, I think. And it just looks like a really cool magazine. It said on the website that this is a journal for the intersection of earth-based spirituality and activism. Beautiful Resistance places modern paganism in a social, environmental, and political context, which sounds amazing to me, and it looks really beautiful too. Oh, this paper's beautiful. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to jumping into this, because you all know how much I love to read, although my stack of to be read is huge. But I've often looked into pagan sort of publications, and a lot of them haven't particularly appealed to me, but I thought I'd give this one a go and see how I like it. It's really pretty. But let's have a look at the deck. Okay. It is, of course, the Ophidia Rosa. This is so not a deck I would have pictured myself getting. I mean, I've always thought it was beautiful. Every time I've seen it, I'm like, oh, it got a little banged up. That's a bit frustrating. Oh well. Hopefully the cards are okay. It's always frustrating when that happens, especially when you know that it's been packaged well. But anyway, yeah, this deck, I've always thought it was beautiful, but I kind of just assumed it wasn't for me. And then when I was in Timor, halfway through our trip, I had a little bit of a, I mean, not a breakdown. Hang on, just let me get some scissors. I had a little moment in Timor where I was getting quite overwhelmed. And so I spent the afternoon by myself in my room looking through decks and stuff. And I decided to get this. Oh, this is going to be quite hard to get open now because of this. I don't know what to do. But anyway, this is a beautiful deck, but it is not particularly illustrative. Like, it's not scenic. Well, it is very illustrative, just not scenic, especially in the minders like we're used to. That's not too bad. But anyway, petals filled with water, cupping the dew, hold the power to tip and feed us the moon. How pretty. It is all very decorative. Very pretty. So I have no idea how I'm going to go with this deck. But it is not like anything I've read with or used before. So I suppose, you know, sometimes that's a good thing, hey? Push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. So you don't get a little white book or anything, but we do get this little fold out, which is really lovely. I think just everything about this is quite just lovely done. Oh wow. Oh, isn't that pretty? Let's just see if I can kind of push this out a bit. It's definitely kind of like, it's a bit mushy now, because you know it's like the integrity has been compromised or whatever you call it. But anyway, I think that's okay. I'll have a better look later. Okay, this is the gilding, which is kind of like this matte but very shiny. It's like a dark gold, you know, like it's gold, but it's not like the bright gold. It's really pretty. And then these cards, they are beautiful. Like the colors are just so, I don't know, muted and soft, but just really pretty. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to make of this deck, but I was curious, and this is the backing. Isn't that beautiful? Which is the same on the box. I love this, the Ouroboros. So it's not just flowers. There are other things going on, like we have the moon and the High Priestess. That's beautiful. I can't remember, I watched 1 or 2 videos, but not in depth. I can't remember if they say what flowers, no. So we get like this kind of, like the High Priestess, petals filled with water. Okay, so that's what's on the inside of the box. Petals filled with water, cupping the dew, hold the power to tip and feed us the moon. Very, very pretty, but we don't get any information about what the flower is. Which, I think, I mean, it seems like a deck that would have been very purposefully put together. So I feel like the creator would probably have put, like, that looks like pomegranates to me, which would make sense for the Empress, yeah? Or they, I mean, that's the shape of pomegranates, but pomegranates are a bit bigger. I don't know. I'm not very good with flowers. But it just seems to me like the artist probably was rather intentional with the symbolism. But having said that, sometimes I almost find I get stuck on that sort of stuff when there's too much of a connection of, oh, well, this means this because of this. So maybe it's kind of a good thing that, you know, I've been neglected the opportunity to get too stuck in my head with this deck. That is so pretty. This actually kind of reminds me of the Hardy Tarot lovers, just because of the moon phases. That was one of my favorite cards from the Hardy Tarot. Sometimes I miss that deck, but we just didn't really get along. But that, yeah, those moon phases reminds me of that. That's so pretty. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the cardstock of the Crystal Unicorn Tarot, actually. Like, it's slick and smooth and almost plasticky, but not in the way that we used to use that word. It reminds me of the old contact paper I used to use for my books at school. I love this, how we have the shield, which is interesting for the Chariot. But just how we have those like little, like purple popping through, but it's still not super bright, but just very selective use of colour. Justice. The Hermit. It's very pretty. I love this Wheel of Fortune. Often I find the Wheel of Fortune cards can be a bit boring. Is that terrible of me to say? Whereas this is still simple. Just really, really pretty. Look at it all. Lovely. And I love this kind of tea stained in the background. The Hanged Man. We have flowers strung up to dry out. Death. Are these like headdresses or something? Or are they, I don't know what, I mean, these look like feathers to me, but I don't know what they're strapped to or connected to. Temperance. These are a little bit smaller than regular cards, or have I just not played around with cards for a little while? It's so pretty, but I'm not entirely sure what to make of a lot of these cards. That's really cool. We have a broken sword and all these petals like flying everywhere. The star. Oh, it's very pretty. I'm assuming that's kind of some kind of... It does look like a star, this flower. These cards, they're not stuck together, they're just kind of clinging together. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, I thought these were spiders. But are they just more like the craters in the moon? I don't know. Very cool. Very simple, a lot of this. Judgment. We have a bell. That's cute. What are these? We've seen these before. See, now just out of curiosity, I kind of do wish that the flower was named, even if it didn't go into detail of what it's supposed to mean and why the flower is there. I don't know, I'm kind of curious just to know, so that if you wanted to, you could do further research, you know, like to have that option would be nice. This world card's lovely. Love how we have the web and everything interconnected like that. Now we have the Ace of Cups. It's very pretty. Is this a rose? That's what it looks like to me. Oh, I like this. There's like a nice symmetry there. Very cool. Yeah, I actually I worked in a florist for a few months. That was like my last job before I became unwell. And I know what flowers look good together. I know kind of how long flowers can live. You know, once you buy them from the florist, I know how to put together, make a nice bouquet. But I don't know what all the flowers are. But these look like roses. Oh, I like that for the Four of Cups. This deck's, maybe it has more going on in the minors than I first thought. I thought it was much less, like it's not Marseille in terms of, you know, like the structure and the imagery. It's certainly not scenic, but there are kind of little hints to the meaning. Like kind of like these flowers falling off in the Five of Cups. But we still have this beautiful, like there's elements that you can, connections that you can make. I like this Six of Cups, that's really cute. Seven. All the little stars and the moon again. There's quite a bit of moon imagery in this deck. Not a huge amount, but you know. Yeah, these cards I think once you're going to get shuffling them, they'll be fine. But they kind of, yeah, they don't, like they're not stuck where you have to pry them apart. It's more like static or something. Maybe static's not the right word, but just, yeah, I don't know. Kind of does remind me a little bit of the Crystal Unicorn. Very pretty. Eight of Cups. Cool how we kind of have like this structure here. The Nine. These look like little faces. And the 10, isn't that beautiful? Kind of almost reminds me of a lot of Two of Pentacles though. But it is very, very pretty. Love it. Just the whole aesthetic of this deck is pretty incredible. I think that's largely what attracted me to it. And I was just curious because, yeah, like I said, I don't have anything like this in my collection. I've never read with anything like this at all. Oh, that's really pretty. So I think this will just have to be a bit of an experience for me. A bit of an experiment almost. I like this. This is quite witchy, isn't it? Which I can get behind. And the King of Cups. Now we have the Ace of Wands. It's really pretty. I remember Annika from Nobody Here did a video on this card a long time ago. I vaguely remember this image now. And something about how even when you buy the seed from the shop, you buy a packet of seeds, it doesn't show pictures of the seed, it shows a picture of what you will have. when you do the work and tend to the seed and plant the seed and all of that. Something like that. I really liked that video anyway. I'll have to go back and rewatch now that I actually have the deck. I didn't have any intention of getting the deck back then, but I still enjoyed that video, so I'm sure I will appreciate it even more. Oh, that's really pretty. I like that. Ah! I'm having a bit of trouble with this. I kind of... 4. Kind of like interwoven. If anybody's kind of, I don't know, there seems to be a lot of flowers. I was going to say, I like how these like drooping. I was going to say, if anybody's worked out what all these flowers are, let me know. But then I realized that that's like, you know, not just jotting down 2 or 3 flowers. It's like 78. Which is quite a high expectation of you guys, which is rather unfair. I didn't think that through. I really like this, how it's almost like the laurel wreath that we have, and kind of like one standing out. That's really cool. Ooh, 7 of Wands. I like that. That's really quite striking. Ooh, these butterfly wings. 8 of Wands. These are like, 9 of Wands. I like this. It reminds me of the World card a little. With kind of like, because of the way that this is curved around, it almost looks like it's man-made, but I'm going to think of it as a web. I really like that. It's very, very pretty. The Page of Wands. This is quite different, I think, because even though we have a few elements that aren't flowers throughout the other cards, usually the flower is the primary focus, whereas here it's this beautiful moth. And it's lovely, and we even have some crystals down here. It's a really beautiful card. The Knight. These look like the same flowers in the Ace of Wands, maybe. The Queen. Oh, very cool. It is very interesting. Well, it's almost, oh, it's really cool. Like is that the bark? And the swords. The only other sword we've seen really was in the tower, wasn't it? And that was broken. I love the accents of purple. The 2 of Swords. Well, these are roses, little thorns. Yeah, I'm questioning my assumption that those other ones were roses. What are you gonna do? Ooh, this is cool. Very spiky. The first thing I thought of was like seaweed or something on the reef. But it's very spiky, which is rather appropriate for the 3 of Swords. Oh, this is cool. It's like a skeleton. Which is interesting too, because the 4 of Swords in the Rider-Waite Smith, we often kind of view the character in that as just lying down and resting. But I know in some traditional like literature, you know, the image is in a church, and so there's more the assumption that this is a tomb and that is a dead person. So I don't know, that kind of got me thinking about that. That's really cool, very interesting, striking. Oh, I love this. Just in terms of how it looks, that's beautiful. 5 of Swords. This is definitely making me think, this deck, which is fun. This is interesting. It's like a bunch of flowers turned upside down, and this sword about to cut this snake, which just makes me think of that saying, mad as a cut snake. For the 7 of Swords. Interesting. 8. Oh, this is pretty. And I suppose I've actually seen, I can't think now, but I know there are 8s of swords where like a character is in a bubble or something. So that's kind of, actually reminds me quite a bit of some 8 of swords that I've seen before. And it almost looks like these are a lot smaller and these big ones kind of towering over. I don't know. Really interesting. And the 9 of swords all bottled up. It just is really pretty. Gotta give it that. And then the 10 of swords. Oh, everything's been cut up and destroyed. Like little, even the, oh. At least our snake isn't cut. That's good, I suppose. That's really pretty. Like a bundle of dried herbs and flowers. Ooh, we have an eye. How interesting. The Queen. Quite a lot of snakes in the Suit of Swords. And the King. And some eyes as well in this suit. And now we have the Pentacles. These are just so pretty. I mean, like, they're so simple. But just really, really pretty and quite striking too. Like, these couldn't belong to any other deck. They really, these little mushrooms. Oh, I like this. You know, like, there's not an overuse of colour. It is mostly plants, flowers, but you know, we have the occasional hand or eye. Or crystal, or whatever else it may be. There are kind of added elements of interest. Oh, this almost looked like the beginning of a fire to me. You know how like people stack the twigs and the kindling. I think the shape of those flowers and the colours kind of added to that image for me. These mushrooms. So cute. Why do mushrooms look cute? I don't understand. Like, where does that concept come from? Is it because fairies live in, like, I don't know. I am so curious to see how I end up working with this deck, if I do. Like, it's just so, like, I like my little people and my little scenes and stuff going on in my decks, and this is just not that. Which is partly makes me nervous, but also partly is exciting. Oh, that's so cute. So, we will just have to wait and see, I suppose. But thank you, slightly stressed out team or Katey, for this really fun, interesting little present. I like that. And the King of Pentacles. The cards didn't get damaged, it doesn't look like, from the box, which is good. It was just the box. But let's see how they shuffle. Yeah, it does remind me a lot of the Crystal Unicorn in that, like, they don't really separate. You can still see, like, even though I'm shuffling, they're kind of shuffling in chunks, like they stick together. So hopefully that'll kind of decrease with time. We'll give it a riffle shuffle and see how that goes. They do like, they are very nice and flexible, but even it's still a little bit hard to kind of, yeah, see how quite chunky? Like, I don't know, I just find that difficult to shuffle, especially because I shuffle until a card comes out to answer my question, and so kind of like this overhand shuffling is not usually a problem with cards. Usually it's the riffle shuffling, which I can live without. But the overhand shuffling, I need to be able to do. But my Crystal Unicorn Tarot did kind of start to loosen up a little, so I'm hoping that the same will happen with this one. Just gotta, like, kind of start working with it, I suppose. So our little thing here says very simply, all is before you, a cycle, a voice, you've already begun, but before you can, a choice. That's an interesting kind of take on the Magician card, isn't it? Because we don't often think of the Magician as a choice card explicitly, you know, in the same sort of way as we do like the Two of Swords or the Lovers. And to me, like the Ouroboros kind of reminds me a lot, in some ways, it's like the infinity symbol, the kind of never ending, going round and round. And then, I don't know, we kind of have this single white flower, which to me would represent the purity, our pure sense of self and will that resides within this kind of all-encompassing, never-ending, always beginning energy flow of creation and destruction of the universe. That's what this makes me think of, which I suppose does tie to the Magician. It is kind of cool though how, you know, when we first pulled this card out, I thought it was pretty, but that was about it. Whereas, you know, once all I've done is read this very, very short little meaning that we're given. And even though, you know, I don't just sit with that meaning, it kind of starts, I don't know, starts me opening up to different ideas that this card evokes, that I hadn't really thought about before or voiced before. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a really interesting experience, and I think this is the sort of deck that I might not necessarily want to just bust out and start reading for clients with tomorrow, but that I think will be really good points of exploration and journey for myself, into both understanding myself but also the cards in new ways. I don't know what to think yet, but I'm intrigued, let's put it that way. So I hope you've enjoyed this little pretty casual unboxing and brief chat about the Ophidia Rosa Tarot. If you have this deck, I would love to hear a little bit more about your own experiences working with this deck, especially if you're like me and tend to prefer those more scenic traditional cards. You know, how did you find the transition into this? Otherwise, if you have any comments or questions, as always, leave those below. I always do my best to get back to you, and until next time, so much love. Bye.